Okay, hello everyone, and thank you so much for dialing in to my festive lesson. There are, wow, now 90 of you dialed in live, and I'm sure there's lots of people watching remotely or afterwards as well. I'm so chuffed that you're all here. Thank you so much for dialing in, being a part of this. I just wanted to offer a little lesson that was nice and festive and Christmassy. If you celebrate Christmas, even if you don't celebrate Christmas, hopefully it will give you a little bit of creative joy at a busy time of year. So a little bit about me. My name is Becky. I run Ivy's Corner, which is a little corner of the internet where I like to indulge myself in sharing my love of the Zentangle method. I am a CZT, a certified Zentangle teacher. I got my CZT back in 2023 and CZT 41. I found out about Zentangle years ago from my mum, who was also a CZT, and she sadly passed away in 2023, and that was what kind of inspired me to do Zentangle, what in her memory, I suppose, or when I was going through all of her beautiful artwork. So I am based in the UK. I live in Hertfordshire, which is a little county, well, Hertford in Hertfordshire, which is a county just north of London. I am live with my husband and my two children and my ginger cat, who might poke his head in. He likes to come and see what I'm up to. His name is Bernard. So for those of you who are live, obviously, feel free to ask any questions throughout if you are watching on the recording. If you have any questions about anything that we are doing today, then please feel free to drop me a message in comments or via email. And let's get going. Let's get tangling. So what I'll do is I'll just switch my camera over. Through the wonders of modern technology, I should be able to come to you from the corner of my screen now instead of in the middle. So hopefully you can see everything nice and clear. So I have some kits in front of me here. These are my tools. Now, when I've been practicing this, I've actually made a couple of little just adjustments to what I was doing or what I was planning to do. So some of this will be used, well, all of this will be used, but not some of it more than others, if that makes sense. So let me just close this screen down so I can see more of the chat. So in front of me here, I have three, well, I've got a grey Zendala. Now, someone was asking just before we began whether or not we had to have a grey Zendala, and the answer to that question is no. You can have any tile. You don't have to have a Zendala, a circular tile. You can have any kind of tile. You can have any colour. I've just realised I've left my tile divider in a pile on the floor because I chucked a big pile of stuff on the floor. This is not glamorous. Where is it gone? There it is. There's my tile divider. Hopefully you all saw about my message about the tile divider. We'll talk about that in a second. I have my grey Zendala here. You can use any colour Zendala, any colour tile. It's just slightly easier maybe to follow along on a Zendala, but anything I suggest to you today, you're welcome to take inspiration from and change and do whatever you want with it. So you can use a different surface colour, you can use a different tile, whatever you like. I have a 0.1 micron here. I have a 0.5 micron. I also have my Zentangle pencil, which has escaped over here. I have a white chalk Zentangle pencil. I have a tortillon. These are nice fresh tortillons. I thought I'd treat myself to some nice clean tortillons today in your honour. I have some what are these called? Pastel pencils, blue pastel pencils. I've got three blue pastel pencils in different shades. So I've got a slightly darker one, a sort of a mid-tone, and then a lighter one. These are Brunswick pastel pencils. Any pastel pencils will be fine. If you don't have pastel pencils, that's fine. You can use any kind of colour. You can use no colour. It's really up to you. I'm going to go for a single tortillon here for the blues, just because I think it's fine to use one. It depends if you're using multiple different colors. If you're doing reds and greens, you probably would want to have two separate tortillons for that. But I'm going to stick with one just for today. I have a white jelly roll here. This is a 0.8, although any nib size is fine. I also have these two jelly roll pens, which I'm aware that some people might not have access to. It's fine if you don't have these. This is a jelly roll glaze pen, which is kind of like a transparent one. It's clear. It kind of almost has like a plasticky finish. And I was playing with it when I did a project pack recently, and I thought it was fun. So I'm going to use a little bit of that. And then I've got a little bit of festive bling here with a metallic jelly roll silver. If you have a gold, that would also work beautifully. If you don't have anything like that, then that's also absolutely fine. It's really going to be a beautiful tile, whatever you have to hand. And as I mentioned, I also have my tile divider here. So some of you, if you're in my membership, you will have seen this before. You may have already found it on my website previously. This is my tile divider, which I made to basically give you an ability to easily divide all the different tiles that Zentangle offer. It looks a bit scary when you look at this one, but all of the tiles are there, from a 5 tile, an apprentice tile, 5 tile, 3Z, all of them basically, apart from the opus tile. An opus tile is obviously too big to fit on here. So, yeah, the opus tile wouldn't print onto this paper. So I also then have each of those divided up separately beyond that if this is a bit too overwhelming. So there are some instructions at the front. We are going to just use this page with a Zendala for now. It's all quite straightforward. Don't stress too much about it. So I have that to hand as well. The other thing I have just before I came on camera is I poured myself a sherry because it's nearly Christmas. So cheers, everyone, and happy festive holiday season. Right. And with that, we can get tangling. So for those of you who are completely new to Zentangle, if there is anyone here who has never done any Zentangle before, please just take your time. A lot of people here are, oh, someone said they have the Marcus operandus. That's also fine. I'm not sure if the Marcus operandus divides into 5. We're doing 5 today. If not, just eyeball it. It's completely fine. So if you're completely new to Zentangle, then welcome to the world of Zentangle, and thank you so much for diving in headfirst and coming to my class. I'm really excited to have you here. The Zentangle method is a really fun and relaxing way to create beautiful patterns through drawing, or beautiful images through drawing structured patterns. And we are going to draw a few patterns today that look quite complex, but are actually super simple. If you are completely new to Zentangle, then just follow along. If you need to pause or stop and catch up with the recording afterwards, that's completely fine. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments box. I will try to explain all my terminology as we go along, but forgive me if you are lost by some of the words I say. So let's get going. The first step of the Zentangle method is to just take a moment to relax our shoulders and take a few deep breaths in, and just sit comfortably in our chair. I have already been talking at you for 10 minutes and I'm feeling a little bit flustered. And actually, this is quite a nice opportunity for me just to take a nice deep breath in and just relax, because at the end of the day, this is not a stressful or scary thing to do. We are all here together today to do create some beautiful artwork and just kind of chill out and have a little bit of calm in the midst of a festive, busy season. With Zentangle, one of the first things we always do is just to take a moment to think of something that we're grateful for today. And for me, I am beyond grateful that we have 101 people joining me live. When I set this up, I couldn't have imagined I'd have that many people. So I am extremely grateful that all of you are here. I'm grateful for all of you who already have tangled with me in the past. Anyone who's completely new, I'm grateful for each and every one of you dialing in, and each and every one of you who is watching this recording as well. So just take a moment to think of something in your life today that you are grateful for, whether that's the sunshine that is coming through your window right now, if it's the morning over in Australia, whether it's a nice cup of coffee, whether it's some time you spent with friends recently. Anything that we can hold in our minds that we are grateful for today is proven to be beneficial to our mental health and our general well-being. So just take a moment to take a few deep breaths, relax your shoulders, maybe stretch out your hands, place both feet on the floor, and just take a couple of nice, relaxing deep breaths and get ready to create something beautiful. And so we're going to start off by, normally we would do dots and a border in Zentangle. We are going to do some dots, and we're going to do those using our Marcus operandus or our tile divider that we have here. And as I mentioned, we are going to be dividing this tile into 5. We're going to be doing a star of sorts. I'm going to just if you're using my my version of this, you can see that there's a little pentagon in 5 spots around here. And that is all we need to worry about. So we're going to just make a little pencil mark at each point where there is one of these little pentagons. Mostly they have these dotted lines, but this one up top is obviously the top line, which is many other things as well as the pentagons. So I am just going to make a little mark nice and lightly. I'm probably pressing a little harder than you need to do, just so you can see it on the camera. So I have my 5 marks around my tile, and that is the job of our tile divider done. So that can go over there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a border. So when we draw our border in Zentangle, we don't have to worry about particularly where our lines go. Obviously, if you're drawing on a straight-sided tile, then you would, maybe worry about lines being straight, but we can't draw straight lines on this because we've got a circle. So I'm going to start just by gently marking out a line, and it's quite a narrow border because we are going to tangle quite close to the edge here. And I'm just sort of letting my hand curve, the natural curve that my hand is drawing is going to just mark out a little border around the edge, just to give us a space to tangle in. Now in the Zentangle method, we have our dots and a border, and the reason we draw these is really just to kind of start us off, I suppose. It's giving us something to put on the paper just to begin with, where we are, because sometimes it can feel a little bit daunting. These tiles are only small, but sometimes it can feel a bit daunting to know where to start, and simply something as simple as dots and a border can just help us overcome that initial maybe nervousness that we feel. So there is my border. And actually what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just mark again, extend these little dots in a little bit. So I'm going to maybe just sort of by the same length again here. So I suppose that's maybe just over 1/2 centimetre. Just moving these dots in a little, because what I want to do is start to draw my string just a little bit further in from those dots. You just pop this light on. Hopefully it will. There we go. That's giving us a little bit more light. So I've got these extra dots here, and I'm going to draw a string. Now, a string in Zentangle is a lightly drawn line in pencil that helps us to kind of place our tangles, if you're not familiar with that terminology. We're going to just do a nice lightly drawn line in pencil. And actually what I'm going to suggest, if you want to, you don't have to do this, but you might like to just number very lightly these different points here, because I'm going to talk to you about which one we're going to draw to which point. So I will do it, but I mean, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but just for making it clear, I've got my points numbered, and you can kind of, if you have a precision eraser, you can always get rid of those later, or they will just sort of blend into the tile. And across to point number 3. And I'm going to do a slightly curved line with my string. So I'm going to come slightly out. So I've got this sort of gentle curve that's coming around from point 1 to point 3. Like so. And now I'm going to kind of turn my tile and continue to do the same thing, but from point 3 to point 5 this time. So I'm going to do a nice string line, nice curved line from point 3 to point 5. I'm going to turn my tile again so that my starting point is point 5, and I'm going to come across to point 2. So a nice curved line rather than a straight one. It's just going to give us a little bit more space in which to tangle. And you can see I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit. My lines are a bit sketchy. We'll be restating them in a moment. Turning my tile, and I'm going to do the same thing from point 2 to point 4. Like so. And then, surprise, surprise, we will be doing the final step of this string, which is from point 4 to point 1. And you'll see that we've now ended up with this nice 5-pointed star. Like so. If yours looks a little bit, wonky, then that's fine. Doesn't matter. Let me just feel like there's a muting people. There we go. Gosh, there's 106 of you now. Wow. Okay, so now this is actually the kind of the first strokes of our tangle. And normally I wouldn't do this in pencil, but I just felt like I wanted to give us a bit of a guideline to work from initially. I'm going to pick up my black Micron 05 now, and we're going to get to tangling. We are going to tangle Auraknot, which is a Zentangle HQ pattern, which was stepped out by Rick and Maria, who kind of created the Zentangle method. But we're going to do it as a string. I had this idea sometime in the summer for doing Auraknot as a string, and it's been sat in my head until now. So here we are. It's being tangled now. So we're going to just return back to point 1 again. And I'm going to restate this first string line that I drew. Coming from point 1 and then following that line across with that curve. And I'm now going to aura this. Now, when I say I'm going to aura it, if you're not familiar with the Zentangle method, aura is essentially drawing a line alongside a line that already exists, or a shape that already exists on your tile. Now, my aura is going to be fairly chunky. We're going to do 3 rounds of Auraknot. So we're going to have 3 ribbons, essentially, that we're going to be creating. If you don't know what that means, then you'll see in a moment. I suppose I'm going to draw it maybe 0.5 centimetre wide, maybe slightly more. I'm not going to measure it. I'm not precious about this sort of thing. I'm going to draw basically a nice chunky kind of aura. And I'm just following along that line. There. And I'm starting at my pencil line here, and I'm bringing it up to my pencil line here. So it is actually slightly shorter than my initial line that I drew. Now, when I've practiced this, it's easy to kind of want to come and start up here at point 3, where our line just ended. But with Auraknot, what's important to remember is that you want to kind of move around the points of your star rather than moving with the line that you're drawing, if that makes sense. So I'm going to come to point 2, which is going to be the second one along here. And I'm going to do the same thing, but for those of you who are not familiar with this tangle or with Zentangle, I'm going to employ a technique known as the hollibore technique. And hollibore is drawing behind something that already exists on the tile. So I'm going to start at point number 2, and then just restate that same line. But when I get to my pen line that I've drawn, I'm going to stop, pick up my pen, imagine that that line went behind, and then continue on the other side. So this is the hollibore technique. It's drawing behind something that exists on the tile. And you'll find that we use that a lot in the Zentangle method. I'm now going to do my aura line and follow along. And now, so we started from point 1, we've gone to point 2. We're now going to come to point 3. And I'm going to start from point 3. I'm going to cap off the end of this aura here and just restate my line. Doing the hollibore method once again, lifting my pen and continuing to draw that line to here. And when I come to aura this, I'm now going to be holliboring my aura behind this line here. Holliboring my aura. Words that if you're not familiar with Zentangle, you might wonder what I'm talking about. So we're going to start here from this line. And now again, this aura here is going to fall behind this one we had previously placed. To this point, turning our tile, we're going to start from this point here, number 4, and do the same thing. And so you'll start to see that this is beginning to knot together. I'm finishing off that aura line here, just coming to the end of my point here. And then this one is going to come behind the other lines that sit on the tile. And then finally, turning my tile, we'll do this last one here. And this one is going to sit behind both of these. ribbons, if you will. There we go. So that is our first round of Auraknot done. And we're now going to just continue that process. Again, starting at point number 1 here. And you can always tell which one the first one you did was, because this one is the only one that doesn't have anything tucked beneath it. Or it's the only one that doesn't have anything on top of it, excuse me. So this one is kind of always going to be the first one you come back to. I'm going to do the same thing again and keep my auras much the same width, and then hollyball them underneath. Like so. And then moving around the star to point number 2, rather than coming up here where we've just finished, because every time when I was practicing this, I kept doing my line and then coming from here, like as if I was drawing this 5-pointed star. So I'm now coming to point number 2 and just repeating this process. And this is one of the things that's so lovely about the Zentangle method, is just we are essentially just repeating the same steps again and again at this point. Taking a nice deep breath. Sometimes if you feel your lines are a little shaky, that can help. And as we are now drawing sort of short lines in short bursts, it doesn't really, I mean, you can kind of roughly match them up, but you know, it's not the end of the world if things are a little uneven. I'm moving now to point 4. And then finally point 5. There we go. So we have a lovely Auraknot here that's comprising of 2 rounds of auras. We are going to do one final round. Again, the same sort of width. We're going to start at point 1 and then add our auras in. And you can see here, having done that first line, this one here has 3 bands, but the others only have 2. And so if you're not get a bit lost and you're unsure, just turn it to the next point and aura, and then have a little look and see which of your lines have 3 and which have 2 sections. So moving around to the next point of the star, adding that aura. Now this one here, as I turn it round to point 3, my final aura is kind of disappearing. Like you can't see the starting point. So I'm going to imagine where it would start and then just continue it here. And the same here. Can't see this one, so I'll just imagine where it would come out. So now I have 3 aura bands here, 3 aura bands here, 3 here, 3 here, and I can see this is my final one to do because there's only 2 bands at this point. So turning my tile and then just adding that aura in there. And that is our first tangle. And that is our Auraknot. Now, if you wanted to, you could continue all the way through into the center, but I'm going to leave this middle bit clear of patterns for now.
Becky, could you tell us the numbers again, just to say 1 to 3, etc., etc.?
Yes, of course. So I have numbered my points of the star. When I first drew my string line, I drew from point number 1 to point number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so I skipped one. You're skipping one every time, essentially. So point number 1 to point number 3. I drew from point number 3 to point number 5. And then I drew from point number 5 to point number 2, point number 2 to point number 4, and then join my point 4 back up to point 1 again.
That helps.
Good.
That helps a lot. Thank you.
Let me quickly show you one more time. I'll do it on this little bit of scrap here. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. That's wonky, but never mind. I went from point number 1, skipped 1 to point number 2. Point number 2, skipped 1 to point number 4. Point number 4, skipped 1 to point number 2. Point number 2, skipped 1. No, that's not right, is it? I didn't number them, so this is probably not very helpful. Basically, don't worry too much about the numbering, but you're just skipping 1 every time. With 5 points, if you skip 1 every time, you'll end up back where you started eventually.
Imagine like you're drawing a regular 5-pointed star like you draw when you're a kid,
Yeah.
but curved lines instead.
Yeah. Slightly curved lines. And doing slightly curved lines has just meant it's given us a bit more space to play with here, which is why we've done it that way. Does anyone have any questions? Sorry if I've gone too fast. The recording will be there for you. So if you're not sure, then you can refer back to it. So we're going to now just add a nice little aura all around the outside. So I've got my 0, 1 for this. And I'm going to aura around the outside just to kind of separate things a little bit. This is going to be really fine aura, different to these nice chunky ones that we drew here. And it doesn't matter where you start. We're just going to take our time and place a nice aura around the outside. And I like to draw my aura lines so that, because I'm right-handed, I like to draw so that I can see the line that I am auraing rather than drawing over here. My hand is crossing over this line that I'm drawing around, if that makes sense. So I like to position my tile so that I can always see the line that I'm auraing nice and clearly. And something else just to mention about these tile sizes is, if you're not familiar with Zentangle, we always work on relative, well, not always, I mean, you can work on whatever paper you like, but typically we'd work on a smaller tile size. So the typical Zentangle tile is 3.5 inches square. Zendala is slightly larger surface area, roughly 4 inches in diameter. And we have these small tile sizes so that it's nice and easy to complete relatively quickly. This is going to probably take slightly longer than an hour and a half that I allocated because it's a Zendala and I've been chatting. But yeah, having these small tile sizes means that we can easily turn our paper, our surface, to keep our hand nice and relaxed, because it's important when you tangle. It's meant to be relaxing. So turning your paper size just means that you can easily keep your hand in the most relaxed position for you. And moving this around means that you don't have to kind of bend your arm around to reach wherever you need to get to. So I've placed my aura around the outside here. I'm also going to place one on this inner section too. A similar width. Just taking my time because there's no rush. And if you find yourself falling a little bit behind where I am, please don't worry. Just the most important thing is that you just take your time, meet yourself where you are, and just relax and enjoy. That's all I want you to get out of this, really. So we have our lovely star, and I'm going to stick with my my 0, 1 here, because I'm going to start to place some tangles in my aura lines here. Now, the one on the outside, I played around with, I mean, the problem with Zentangle is that there is just so many options of things that you can do at any one time. There are so many patterns and so many things that I could put into here, and you might be inspired to fill your Auraknot star with lots of other different things. And I thought I would try and I'd started doing ones that are a bit complicated, and I sort of thought, actually, let's try and keep it relatively simple. So in the outside of these, or this one, I'm actually going to leave that clear of pen for now, because I'm going to do something with the jelly roll in there a little bit later on. If you don't have a jelly roll, then don't worry about that. You can put whatever you like in here. I'm going to place a tangle in this second round of my aura lines. And what I'm going to do is essentially just start off by drawing a nice zigzag. It's going to be similar to it's kind of similar to bales, I suppose, what I'm going to place in here. It doesn't really have a specific name. It's a kind of an adaptation of different things. If anyone here has followed along with my YouTube series, my little mini YouTube series of festive tangles, you will know that I used the tangle Holly Lane quite a lot in that because it was nice and festive and Christmassy. And actually it's this one's not dissimilar to that, but I've just kind of tweaked its light to make it look a bit more like an icicle, I suppose. So what we're going to do is, and you can put this in the outside one if you want to, it's not a problem. I've come back to my top aura, the one that's on top of everything. So that's going to be my starting point for all my tangling, I think. But I'm going to move down into the next aura below it here. And I'm going to just do a zigzag along this hollyboard underneath my aura line bands here. So I'm just placing this nice zigzag inside here, and kind of is because you've got these lines crossing over each other, it's quite forgiving, you know, it doesn't really matter where they end up falling behind. And that's my first pattern. Now with the tangle, let me find a scrap bit of paper. With Holly Lane that I did before, you have this your line or your zigzag, I suppose, like so, and you would add a little C curve like this in three little C curves either side to create like a little holly leaf shape. But what we're going to do here is, instead of doing that holly leaf shape, we're going to just do a C curve in and then back again. And they can be slightly wonky, it's not a problem. But it's the same premise, it's just a single two C curves basically, like that. So it's kind of like bales. The tangle bales in Zentangle is like a rice shape or a curve. It's one C curve like this. But it's the same thing, it's just it's coming to a point like that. So that's what I'm going to place around along my zigzag. And I'm just going to take my time and enjoy the process. It's not like a wildly complex pattern, but it's a nice little filler. And hopefully everyone is doing all right. And I didn't confuse you too much with the star. Now in Zentangle, there's no such things as mistakes. You can't do things wrong. So if you've done things a little bit differently to me, then that's fine. Just go with what you have and keep going, because I think all patterns or tangles I find or tiles tend to go through a stage where you think, I don't really know what's going on here. I'm not sure about this. But if you just persevere, things will invariably come good at the end. So just having a little look at the comments. Someone enjoyed tangling Holly Lane. It was a fun little tangle. Merry Berries, is this a tangle that I haven't named properly? Sorry everyone if that's the case. We're going to do the same thing in the next second aura band along. So I'm going to again come back to point 2. I mean, it doesn't really matter which order you do your aura bands in. And you can just, you know, this one would come down to here roughly, so you can just do your zigzag in whichever way works for you. So there's my zigzag, and I'm going to add my Bales-ish, Holly Lane-ish pattern in here, just along each of these zigzag lines. And the nice thing about this is that you can just keep repeating the same pattern and relax into it. So that's my second aura done. My third one will come from here. But again, it doesn't matter. You can do them in any order. I'm not sure how many people here are completely new to Zentangle. If you are completely new to Zentangle, and you're a little bit baffled by some of the things I'm saying, then you might like to have a little look at my free introduction lesson. I have a couple of different free classes available on my website, ivys-corner.com. The free introduction will just give you kind of a whistle-stop tour of the Zentangle method, talk a little bit about what it is and where it came from and the key techniques, and having a little play with some of these key things that you will learn as you start to explore the method. I think it's nice to, I mean, there's so many resources you can follow along online, but it is quite nice to take a class with a certified teacher as an introduction, because then you kind of get to grips with some of the terminology and some of the kind of, well, I mean, not rules, because they aren't really rules as such. It's just pen and paper. But if you want to kind of understand a little bit about the method and how it works, then it's a good place to start. So I have free introduction lessons, so feel free to have a little play with that. Actually, there is, if you are familiar with Zentangle, there is an intermediate version as well, not where I talk about the method so much, but it's just something, if you're not new to Zentangle, you can do for free as well. So I'm just working my way around here, and this can start to feel a little bit line heavy, and if you get a little bit confused as to where you are, don't stress. This is my final one here. My final aura band with these little icicle-esque patterns. If you are drawing this and you intend on colouring it with green and red or another colourway, then there's nothing to stop you actually doing Holly Lane in here if you wanted to, or just with this one adding some little orbs or circles like holly berries. You could do that. I'm trying to keep it relatively straightforward. Perhaps I didn't with the or not, but we are where we are. Right, so there, this sort of, your auras kind of start to look a little bit like they're blending together here, but you can still see, because we've tangled this in a finer pen, or at least I have, you can sort of see where the lines are dividing these auras, and we will come to play with those a little more as we shade this. The next thing I'm going to do is to add some nice orbs into this central part of my aura, so this central aura line here. So we've come back to the beginning again here, and I've got my aura band that's sitting on top, and I'm going to simply just add some nice big circles. Now, if you're not familiar with the Zentangle method, we say orbs because circles imply perfection, and you can't draw a perfect circle. I am not a compass. I can't draw a perfect circle of my own volition. So an orb is just a roundish shape. So we're going to do lots of little orbs in a line. And again, because this is disappearing behind these auras here, it is forgiving. It doesn't matter quite how they all fit together. We can just fit them in where they are. So that's the first one, and I'll do my next round along here. If you want to tuck your orbs in behind each other, then you can do that. Like you might start with one and then do the other ones like this, tucked in behind. But mine, I'm just drawing next to each other. One thing actually I will say, that whilst people are filling in their orbs here, if you're new to Zentangle, you can draw any of the patterns that we're doing here. They're all constructed from the same elemental strokes, which are a line and maybe a dot, a C curve, an S curve, and an orb. I, C, S, and O. And any of the patterns that are deconstructed within the Zentangle method can be created with these elemental strokes. So if you can write those letters, you can create any of the patterns that you see people use. So I'm just taking my time. And when I'm drawing my orbs, I'm just going nice and slow and making sure I'm coming back to where I started. And then I'm going to turn my tile and just continue to add these orbs in. If you wanted, you could add, you know, as I said, any pattern here. I've played around with lots of different versions of this, but in the spirit of trying to keep things not too complicated, she says, having given you a knot to draw. Yeah, I mean, I've tried this with like a muka, if you're familiar with that tangle. I can show you some variations I've done. I've done shattuck in here, which looks really nice. These are all stepped out Zentangle patterns, and if you wanted to do any of those, if you wanted to try this one again, you could obviously feel free to use whichever patterns you liked. There we go. Okay, so I'm done with my orbs now, and I'm going to have a drink of water and maybe some sherry. You can still see a few heads down, so I will leave you for a little bit longer. We're going to do a couple more things just in these outside spaces before we start to add any colour. What's everyone doing? Heads are still down. Oh, I'm recognising lots of your names. Hello, everyone. Oh, Pauline's here. Hello, Pauline. Oh, this is so nice. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Oh, I'm Linda. Jenny. Hello. Okay. So, if anyone followed along with Inktober, we drew, and actually I did it in one of my mini lessons. We did the Tangle Yeed by Midori Furuhashi, which I really, really liked and keep coming back to. So I'm going to do some Yeed just around the outside of my star. Now I'm going to kind of show you how I have been drawing this one in my practice. I'm actually going to come right out to the edge. So I'm going to ignore my border for now. On the points of my star, I'm going to do a little rice shape. Quite little on each one. Little seed shape. And then I'm going to be drawing a few more of those rice shapes. I'm going to start off by doing a bigger one in these kind of indented points of my star. So in the middle section here. And sometimes I like to do a little dot just to kind of give me an idea of where I'm going. I suppose that's maybe a centimetre, maybe slightly less than a centimetre. And I'm going to do a rice shape there. And then I'm going to add two more dots, just sort of equally spaced between this central rice shape and this outside one. So sort of maybe here and here, so that these dots are kind of in a line. and they are going to become rice shapes as well, or seed shapes. Just a little dot marks out where I'm intending on beginning. And these are, I suppose, coming kind of perpendicular, straight out from this sort of line upwards towards the top of the tile. And with Yeed, the next thing that I will do is just place a dot in. If you imagine this as being like a square, sort of an off-shaped square, just placing a dot in the middle of that square. So sort of in the middle of the seed shape, in the middle between the two. And that's going to just be a line down. And we'll do that in between each. As long as it's shorter than your rice shape. Once that's done, we're going to connect the top of this, or the dot that we placed, the top of the line that we've just placed, with the top of our rice shapes. Like this, and then the other way. And that's going to happen across all of them. So we sort of end up with a zigzag line between the top of the seed shape and the top of the line we've drawn. And I think this just kind of looks like a little fancy, frilly kind of border. We're going to repeat those steps on all 5 segments around the outside of our star. So I'll start off with my larger rice shape and then mark with dots. If you wanted to, you could go around and do all the dots and then all the rice shapes. And, you know, it doesn't matter if they're not perfectly equally separated. Like you can see, for example, here, I've left a much bigger space here. It's not very even. It doesn't matter. It will all look nice when it's finished. So then the dot's halfway down. And the lines to connect. And then a zigzag line, or just connecting the tops basically. So this is a fairly involved tile, but it will look really pretty when we're done. We are going to take longer than 90 minutes. We've not finished the tangling yet, and we've only got 40 minutes left. So I hope no one is in a desperate hurry to rush off. And if you are, it's not a problem. The recording will be winging its way to you just as soon as it's processed. I was just double checking to make sure it's actually recording then. I had a little panic. It is recording. We're fine. So our rice shapes, separating these little sections, kind of looks like a little ruff, like a Shakespearean sort of ruff, I think, around people's necks that they wore back in the day. I say back in the day like I was there. I wasn't there. Dots in between, in the middle of those rice shapes. And then we make those into little lines. Like so. And then we connect the tops of the lines and the tops of our seed shapes, our rice shapes. There we go. So if you don't already subscribe to my YouTube channel, then feel free to hop over and do that, because my mini lessons, my festive mini lessons are all there. And the other thing I was going to say is that I am intending or hoping to do Project Pack, or follow along with Project Pack 28, which is starting on Friday, I think, and do some little videos on there about that. And also the Fragment of Your Imagination challenge, which is going to be starting in January. So I will be posting videos, hopefully similarly to what I did in Inktober for that challenge. So if you don't subscribe, then hop on over and do that, because then you'll see when I post new bits and bobs. Just taking a moment to have a few deep breaths, actually. I feel like sometimes I get myself caught up in the focus, and actually just having a little stretch is sometimes quite nice, just to release out any tension that you're carrying inadvertently. Sometimes when you're concentrating or you're focusing, it's easy to hold that tension in your body. I usually hold it in my shoulders, so just rolling them helps me to kind of relax a little bit. This will be the last section for me. Don't worry if you're still working on your Yeed. I'm going to put my dots in the center, connect those into lines. And then connect the tops. And it's quite simple, this tangle, but I just really like the way it looks. I think it kind of makes it look quite fancy. The edge of that star now looks pretty fancy, I think. And if you are done with your Yeed and you're looking for something to do, then I would suggest just taking a moment to add a very fine aura around the outside, because when in doubt, aura. And I'm going to just do that myself, just a fine aura. And this is, it kind of is a lot of lines at the moment, but the aura just helps to separate things out when it comes to the shading section we do. And just allows things to feel a little bit more even. And that fine aura will make quite a big difference, because I forgot to do it on one of my practice versions, and I thought, why is this not looking why like I want it to? And it was because I'd forgotten my aura. So just taking your time. If anyone wants a little break, then this might be a good time to stretch your legs for a second if you want to. I am going to keep going because we do still have a bit more to get through. We're going to do one final tangle once I've completed this aura. Just to add a little bit of extra festive fun to the remaining space. And then before we move into adding some colour, I'm going to do colour first before the shading. I'm going to just add a little pass of some Jelly Roll first, which I will explain my reasoning behind that in a bit. So there's my aura. The last tangle I'm going to place on this tile is a tangle that I discovered when I was having I went tangle shopping, looking around online for different tangles that I would want to use in all these different festive lessons that I've been putting together. And I came across one called Beadlines by Margaret Bremner, which I think looks really fun. I've adapted the step out very slightly for the purposes of this tile, so I will show you how I have been drawing it. We are going to just do some orbs in each of these spaces of varying sizes. In the step out itself, I think Margaret draws a line and then inks in an orb, nice inky orb on that line to kind of create the beads on the lines. But in my mind, I thought it lent itself quite well to kind of festive lights that you might see up at this time of year. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the orbs first rather than starting with the line. So I'm going to place a little collection of orbs. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. They're not in any particular order, like so. Maybe one more here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line that connects them. So I'm going to stop before I cross the orb. I'm going to draw a line from just somewhere along my yeed here. And these are curved lines. And they can come to any point of your orb and then out of any point of your orb. Nice kind of wiggly line that connects them. And they kind of, in my mind, look a little bit like fairy lights. You could do more than one strand, and actually in a lot of my practice lines, practice runs of this tile, I did do multiple strands of these little fairy lights, but I think in the spirit of keeping things a little bit simple, we'll do one. If you wanted to do more than one, then feel free. We're going to add these to every kind of in-between section. And then a nice curved line is going to connect them. And you'll notice that I'm not just going straight from one orb to another. I'm kind of giving it a little bit of a wiggle. I put the Christmas tree up with the children yesterday, and my fairy lights looked a lot like that all over the place. My daughter was pulling at one end of the fairy lights while I was trying to untangle the other end. But at least it looks nice and Christmassy in my house now. A few people having to go. I hope that is people have to disappear off. The tangle. Sorry, everyone, I haven't been looking at this. I'm terrible when I'm concentrating. We have Yeed that we have done. In fact, I've written them down here on this bit of paper. We have Beadlines by Margaret Bremner and Yeed by Midori Furuhashi. This one was I was inspired from Inktober, and this one I found, I think this one is actually on Tangle Patterns. I found it on Pinterest. But hopefully that's helpful. So I'm placing my orbs and then my stringy sort of line that connects them. If anyone needs this back again, then let me know. So yes, Sharon asked what the tangle is and what it's based on. Hopefully that answers your question, Sharon, with Beadlines, which I came across on Pinterest. And if you wanted, I mean, I'm sticking with my palette of blues for this pattern, or this tile even, but I think this would look really fun, filled in with all different colours, these orbs. You could fill them in with some nice like neon jelly rolls, which might look really fun, like colourful fairy lights. I was debating about what to put in my central area of this star. And I thought, oh, maybe we could do a gem or something. If you are familiar with doing those sorts of things, then feel free to do that if you want to. I think we have been doing plenty of bits and bobs on this for now, and I don't want to keep you all here for the rest of the day. So if you want to do a gem in here, then feel free. I think what I might do is actually just some more of these bead lines in the center. Maybe a couple of strands of them. I'm going to do lots of little orbs and see where my little lines want to go. And the nice thing about this is actually you can just add more in if you need to, if you feel like it's asking for a couple more orbs. So there's some in the middle there. Okay. Before we do any colour, I'm going to pick up my, if anyone has one of these glaze pens, I'm going to suggest that you use this now. Really, especially on a grey, I think if you're using a white tile, actually this might be more effective than it's working out for me on the grey. But I'm going to do a little mixture of things in this outer aura because we sort of left it blank before. What I'm going to be doing, and I will skip ahead slightly, is I'm going to be using the white and the silver and the glaze on this, and I'm going to just do dots of that randomly within here. Now, the reason I'm telling you this now is because if you have a glaze pen, adding this first is going to preserve whatever colour is under here. So if you've got white, this will preserve, it will like resist, so it will preserve the base colour. If you're using tan, it will preserve that. I'm using grey, and actually I don't think it works brilliantly on grey. I'm going to put this on first because then I'm going to add the colour on top, and then I'm going to add these two. If you're only using metallic or you're only using white, then you don't have to do this now. Riley is asking what's the number. I'm not sure what number you are referring to. Are you talking about the thickness of the jelly rolls? These ones don't have a number. My white one is an 8, but you can use any thickness of the jelly rolls. But I'm not using these at this moment. I'm going to pick up my glaze pen. And this
the number she's referring to is above the barcode.
Oh, 800.
That's it.
There you go. It is. It's number 800. Sorry, I didn't even know there was a number there. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to do some. It's going to be hard to see because it's a transparent pen. I'm just running it on some paper to wake it up a little bit. And I'm just going to do some dots of varying kind of sizes in different positions. And I'm not going to fill it up too much because I'm going to come back with my white and my silver to add some more. But the reason I'm adding this is that it's just going to add a little bit of interest, and like because we're going to have some glitter on here with our silver or my silver, it's just going to add another element to it. And it's really not important to add this at all, but I had it, so I thought, why not? I'll show you some of my other test tiles where I did use it a little more, but because I'm using this grey, it wasn't working for me as well as I wanted it to. So that's why I'm not using it anymore. And also I wasn't sure that people would have it. So I thought if you've got it, you can use it, but don't worry. Now I'm holding my jelly roll upright. And really just, it doesn't need any kind of pressure. You might not be able to see, but if I hold this, can you see? There's a little glint you can sort of see. It's just going to add a little bit of festive fun. It's going to kind of look, I feel like it looks a little bit like snow or like something similar. And that's going to take a moment to dry. So just be careful not to smudge whilst it's drying. You can give it a little waft. Wafting to dry. And a little blow. And so I'm now going to move on to adding some colour, and I'm going to go fairly bold with the colour. I'm not going to kind of fill in any of the detaily bits, although if you want to, you can. I am going to do fairly bold passes with my colour. I'm going to save the outer aura for now, and I'm going to work from the inside, which is always a good idea anyway. And I've got my darkest blue here. If you're using blues, I mean, if you're using a different colour, variety of colours, then you can just pick whichever you want. Jules, it wants to go and watch I'm a Celebrity. It's on record and I'm going to watch it after. So enjoy. I will be with you. It's my guilty pleasure. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's just this time of year, one of the TV channels sends a load of celebrities to the jungle in Australia, and then we watch them doing silly things. So I'm going to go and watch that when we're finished. Right, I've got my blue pastel here, and I'm using pastel because it's quick. Not that that is a reason to use something in Zentangle. But for my purposes, the same reason as I did on my mini lessons that I ran on YouTube, I used pastel because it was easy and quick to show you in one go. I actually really love using aquarelle pencils, and that actually probably worked better on this this jelly roll that I've just placed down. But because I didn't want to faff about too much with water, given it's quite a busy tile already, I didn't want people to have to worry about it. So if you want to use aquarelle pencils, go for it. If you want to use colouring pencils, go for it. Use whatever you have. If you don't want to use any colour, then that's fine too. I'm going to just simply place some pastel on my auras here. And I'm doing it on kind of the outer the ones that the sides that are nearest the other auras. And the reason for that is it's kind of going to help me with shading, because when I blend away from this darkest point, it will still retain more of the colour in this point that I've placed this pastel. Now I'm not forgetting these sections at the back here. So don't forget these bits in the points that are hiding there. So there's my dark blues. I'm going to go in with my blue tortillon and just fix that down into the paper and then bring it out slightly. Now, being pastel, it will require we'll make it a bit dusty, so I'm just going to occasionally blow some of that dust away. I quite like the tones that you get from using pastel and blending from the darkest area out to the lighter area. I'm pressing not particularly hard. I'm just gently moving that pastel, pressing it down in where I placed it and then pulling it slightly further out. Whilst I'm doing this, I wanted to just let everybody know that I am going to be, if you are, whether you're new to Zentangle or not, hopefully that there is something for you on my website. I have lots of different classes and courses. I've got a beginner's course, I've got a next steps in Zentangle course, and I am going to be doing a discount across the whole sort of course library in December from now. for 15% off everything. So if there's anything that you wanted to try, then you can do so on my in my courses. The code is festive15 and it will be live between now and the 31st of December. And it does include 15% off the first 3 months of your membership to the Ivy's Corner membership. So if you fancied coming along and joining us, we meet every other Tuesday evening for the UK, or whatever your time zone. You're welcome to join from wherever you are in the world. And we do lots of different.
Could you put some of that information in the chat?
I absolutely will. And it will also be in an email that will come to you with the recording. So you will have
Great, thank you.
I've already written an email. I just need to press send once I've got the link to Zoom, or Zoom sends me the recording. But yes, you will have the opportunity to join that. Also, if you are interested, I've realised that there is an option to gift courses. So if you know someone who would like a Christmas gift of a course, then you can use that as a gift and use the 15% as well. So that might be a nice holiday idea. I've just, while I was talking, I've just started using my mid-tone blue on my middle aura line. And again, I'm going just along the kind of outside part and maybe to sort of halfway down. I'm just adding that in. And I'm, as you can see, not being very careful when I'm adding this. I'm just placing it down and then I shall blend it. That's the beauty of the chalk pastel. I'm going to just give my blue a little rub on a spare piece of paper just to take the harshest dark blue on there. And then I'm going to go through and blend this. But I'm not, I mean, if you're using, as I said, different colours, then use different tortillons. But because mine's all blue, I'm fairly relaxed about it mixing. Few people having to go, that's absolutely fine. If you need to go, feel free, don't worry about it. Just finish off on the recording at in your own pace. I'm just glad that so many people have joined in. I can't believe it. Over 100 of you, I think, all in, which is amazing. Just blending my colours, and it's just I'm going to be going in with some shading as well. So even if I'm not, the whole thing is covered with the colour, it's not going to be a problem. Just giving it a little blow to get rid of any of the dust. There we go. And so I'm going to use my excuse me, I'm going to use my lightest colour on the outside here, and with any luck you start to see how, if you're using a different color tile, you might find actually it works better. But let's see, we're going to come back in with some other jelly roll just to kind of add a little bit more later. It's also, I'm working from the inside out here, which is I mean, I say that I'm about to go back into the inside again, but it does help to sort of stop you accidentally smudging things or blending or blurring anything. And then just softening this outer blue. Can't really, yeah, you can kind of see that glittering now. Can you see that jelly roll popping through? It's quite subtle. It won't be quite as subtle when I put the silver and the white on there, but it will give a bit of a multiple kind of textury, layered type feeling, I'm hoping. So sorry, this is going to run over the 90 minutes a little bit, but hopefully if we don't get finished, or if you don't get finished now, you can just follow along in your own time, at your own pace. Okay. So this is my blues here. There's just a couple more areas I wanted to add some colour to. I'm going to come back to the center and I'm actually just going to go around the outside with my lightest blue. Some of these little orbs. And then soften that. And it's kind of hoping it's going to kind of look like it's glowing a little bit. Like so. I will do that to the outside as well. But I'm also going to take, I think I'm going to take my mid-tone blue and I'm going to just do the left-hand side of each of my Yeed sections. So if you think of this as being a section, so the left-hand side of the rice shapes, I'm going to just add a touch of this blue to. And I'm going to keep making sure it's always on the left. Always on the left of my little rice shape. Thank you, Jan. I like the blue tones as well. I thought blue went nicely with the grey tile, and I think would look nice on any kind of tile. I think perhaps I did do a practice version of this on a tan tile with some reds and greens. I'll show you in a minute, or when we get to the end. I think tan probably lends itself quite nicely to that palette. I did a lot of red and green for my YouTube mini series, so I thought we'd go for blue this time. And what's fun about this is that you can, if you wanted to, you could tape a little bit of cotton to the behind the other side, and maybe hang it if you have a Christmas tree. You could hang it up, or just put it up as a little festive decoration, and that would look really nice. I'm just going to soften each of these little bits here. It's not going to take very much, just to take any harsh bits away. I may have especially gone and bought myself an extra nice big box of pastels just so I had a lovely choice of blue. Multiple choices rather than just what I had in my other one. The Brinzil pastels, I don't think they're available in the States, or if they are, they're probably expensive because they've been imported, but I think they come from the Netherlands. Someone can probably correct me if I'm wrong. But they are very, very nice pastels. Helen has some as well. They are lovely. And actually they sharpen really nicely as well, which I think I was worried about, because sometimes when you sharpen these things, they can lose, or they just sort of crumble, but they do sharpen quite nicely, which is good. So there is my blues. I'm going to just, as I mentioned, go around the outside of some of these with blue as well. I'm actually going to maybe do alternate ones and do some whites as well in a minute, because once we've done the shading, I will add some white chalk pencil. I'm just doing alternating orbs, just around the outside of the orbs. So I'm trying not to go over the black pen lines so much. And my idea is that it looks like they're glowing. And then I'm just going to soften a little whiz around. Like so. And I actually don't think it takes too long to shade this tile. So hopefully if you are not in a desperate rush to get somewhere, I can keep you for a little bit longer. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to use my graphite pencil and I'm going to start shading. My shading is going to be much the same as it kind of is with almost with this dark blues. I'm going to go right into the edges here underneath. So to start with, it's going to be underneath this middle aura on top of this central aura. That you can see that all along, and it is going to cross. So you can see here that this aura line has crossed over its neighbor here. Where these lines cross one on top of another, adding the shading in there as well is good because it gives you that kind of overlaying kind of effect. And I am using a nice sharp pencil, and I'm pointing the point of my pencil into where I want it to be the most precise. Now, if you are completely new to Zentangle, I do appreciate that some of the stuff we're doing today is probably fairly advanced. Not advanced, but you know, it's not necessarily the sort of thing that you would just automatically know how to do. So please don't feel, if you feel a bit like you're not sure what to do, please don't worry. I'm on hand for any questions that you have now or after our session. But again, you might like to try some of the introduction or beginners courses and things, which will help kind of get a grips with how shading works in Zentangle. I am actually hoping at some point next year to find the time to do a shading course, which will be up on the website for people to purchase. And I'm planning on talking about different methods and ways of shading, using color as well for shading, and various other things. So if you're not on my mailing list already, then pop onto it, because that will be where I keep people updated. I've forgotten here to go up into some of these corners. So where these aura lines overlap, you can hopefully see that I'm adding this graphite on top of the colour. So it's kind of crossing over. I've done 2 of these auras now, so I'm going to pick up my Tortillon for my graphite. Now this is actually a nice clip. Oh, it says white. Let's pretend it doesn't say white. Let's use this one instead. We'll use that one for white. This is a completely fresh one. So a tortillon is essentially a tightly rolled stump of paper, for anyone who's not familiar with them. It is used to move around, also we moved around the pastel before, it's also used to move around the graphite to kind of create gradients of shade. So as a very quick whiz through shading, if you have a pencil line, hold your pencil as horizontally to the paper as you can. And then you can kind of go over that with little circles, press it down into the paper and just soften the harsh line of that graphite and start to gently, I'm really just tickling the paper here, just bring that graphite away to create a gradient of shade. I'm going to go over all of the graphite that I've placed and just do that very thing. Now, because I'm using this on top of the blue colour, it's going to mean that my tortillon will end up a little bit blue. It's fine. The main thing here I'm worried about is the dark kind of elements of the shading. So if some of the darker blue moves across to some of the other lighter areas of blue, I'm not too worried because it's going to be dark anyway. And if you are worried about that, you can always just give your tortillon a little whiz on a spare scrap piece of paper. But you will see that as you start to soften the harsh lines of this graphite, it is just giving you that depth and the illusion that things are falling behind each other. If you imagine looking at a shadow, rarely has a shadow got a very, very harsh line, even when it's, you know, unless it's the brightest sunny day that you've ever seen, you will find that most of the time there's kind of a softness to the edge of your shadow. And so this is just making that kind of feel a little bit more natural to the eye. And that's kind of helps us to create the illusion that we get with Zentangle shading, to give everything its dimension. So I've softened all of those bits. I'm going to go in now and just go on the inside of my outer aura. So right here, I've gone right across the top of this one. This band travels across the top here, so it's going right along the inside edge there. And you can kind of follow it along in the way that we went before. Obviously, the numbers have somewhat disappeared now. but we can just move it around and follow along. And adding that line of shade across the top of things is going to, again, just make things rise above or fall behind. Now with Auraknot, I normally wouldn't go into shade along these lines like this. Normally I would just shade in these bits where things overlap on the corners, but I think because we have such wide bands of stuff here, it kind of helps to give it a bit more depth. What you want to try and avoid is moving the shade too much across the whole of the width of your aura, because if you do that, it will just lose its blue. And if everything is shaded, then nothing is shaded. So you want to kind of be a little careful about what you add. I've just gone along the outside of this as well, because this section here is dropping behind. And I'm pointing my pencil into where I want to be the most precise. And then I'm just going to go in and soften this graphite. And just be aware as well, like as soon as we start to add graphite and colour, especially with these if you're using a Zendala, it's slightly larger than a square tile, you might find that your hand begins to kind of travel across where you've placed graphite or colour. So just be mindful of that, because you kind of want to avoid smudging or transferring it onto your hand and then transferring it elsewhere onto the tile and making a little bit of a mess. So just softening. I'm not kind of pulling the graphite far away from, I just want to take the harsh edges of this line that I've placed away. And probably not to be recommended, but I am sort of just going around however I feel like, rather than doing it kind of in a sensible way. And it's leaving me kind of going back and forth here, so slightly haphazard. And you just have a look to see where you've placed any of this graphite, anywhere that looks like it hasn't been blended. I think that's good. I think we are mostly done. Now, having said I was working from the inside out, I've forgotten again to do this inside bit, so I'm just going to add a very fine line around the inside of my aura. And that should drop that whole central section just away slightly. I like to do a lot of shading. If you are not that kind of comfortable with shading yet in your Zentangle practice, then don't worry, you just do whatever you feel works for you. I'm just kind of, I mean, there's no rules to this. If there's different ways of shading tangles and tiles, so if you think, you know, you want to do something different, then absolutely go for it. I enjoy a nice bold bit of shading, so for me, I like to go quite heavy on the shading, as you can see. But that's not to say that that's what you have to do. Place quite a lot of graphite down on the tile. I'm going to go around the outside of my star, very fine line of graphite here. And that's just going to lift that away from the Yeed around the outside. And I am going to do the same around the outside of the Yeed as well, just to separate that from the background. But this is a very fine line of graphite, nowhere near as heavy as what I've placed in the other parts of the tile. Just a little touch there is going to help separate this from the background. Oh, some other recommendations of pastel colours in the chat there. Prismacolor General pastels. Yes, I do like the general's chalk pastels. When I get hold of a project pack, I'm always excited when there's a general's chalk pastel in there. Unfortunately, over in the UK, it's not very easy to get hold of those. The general's pencils and things are not, well, not easy, but also very expensive to get hold of. So we don't, I only really get them if I've managed to get hold of a project pack. So I do have a little collection of them though. Hopefully everyone is doing okay. I think I'm overrunning, so people are needing to disappear. But there's only a few more bits and pieces to finish off, so hopefully most of you can stick with me to the end. Just another fine line of graphite around the edge of this Yeed. I'm feeling quite hot in this jumper now. It's December, but it's actually still quite mild in the UK. It went cold for a while, and now it's quite mild again. So these Christmas jumpers are a bit of a hindrance sometimes. I always find that on Christmas Day when I'm cooking Christmas lunch, I feel like I want to be festive and wear a Christmas jumper, but then just end up overheating. I have a whole collection of festive jumpers. And I thought this one was fitting for the occasion. So I'm just softening this one here around the edge of my star, and then I will soften what's around the edge of my Yeed. And then I think I'm done with the shading for the moment. But what I will do is add a little bit of white chalk pastel. Now, if you are tangling on a white tile, you might not, well, to be honest, because we've added colour, you might find that it works beautifully to add a little bit on top of the colour. But generally, using a coloured tile will give you more opportunity for both shading and highlighting. So that's one of the reasons I went for something that wasn't a white tile. But I think if, as I say, if you've added some pastel colour, it should come out really nicely on top of that as well. So just very gently blending all of that, and you can see it's just kind of making it pop a little bit. Now, I'm going to forge ahead because I'm aware that we are over time and I don't want to keep people any longer than necessary. What I'm going to do with the white chalk pastel is I'm going to just come along the, so if I shaded one side of my aura lines in here, I'm going to show the other side or add white chalk to the other side. And that's just going to increase the depth and the kind of the shaping almost of these auras. So it's sort of just a very slight line along whichever side, well, the opposite side to where your graphite is essentially. And I'm not pressing hard with these white chalk pastels, white chalk pencils from charcoal pencil from Zentangle. I'm going to do this on all of my aura lines in the center, and then I'll do the points of the star as well. And while I'm doing this, I will just give you a little bit more of a info about the membership that we have. The Ivy's Corner membership. As I said, it meets every a fortnight, which I didn't realise people didn't know what a fortnight was in some places. A fortnight is 2 weeks, so it's every other week we meet. It's a private community on. It's not on social media. We have a sort of a special little community area where we share tiles. I think a lot of people I speak to are quite keen not to be on social media so much. So that's one of the reasons we do it not on social media, although you're welcome to share your tiles on social media if you want to. But we have the community hub itself has all of the live lessons inside it. And you can dial in, you can share your tiles. We have challenges every other week as well, where I suggest prompts and we can kind of, everyone sees how each other kind of create the same tile or similar tiles, but with slightly different approaches. So that's really fun. The live lessons themselves, we do a selection of different things. Sometimes we stick with black and white, sometimes we use color, sometimes we use mandalas, sometimes we use square tiles. It depends what has inspired me and what I feel like doing, and also I like to ask people what they want to do as well. So we have a little kind of selection of things to keep it interesting. But yeah, it's a very lovely community, and I'm very grateful and happy to be able to bring it to you. So if it sounds like something you think you'd be interested in, then just ask any questions or wait for the email that will come through at the end with a little discount code for the first 3 months of your membership. So I've just added my white chalk pencil to all of those auras. And I'm going to use I don't often use my white chalk, my white Tortillon actually, but I'm going to just soften the ones on the outside because I feel like it just needed a little bit of a zhuzh. Very gently, just softening that line between the white and the blue. That's going to make my nice white Tortillon no longer very white, but that's okay. And I'm going to add some to the other side of my Yeed that didn't have the blue pencil in. It's quite subtle. You don't need to press hard with the white chalk pencil. Just lifting. If you're using a surface that's not this might not work on the white so well, but if you're using like the grey, it's quite subtle. I think you can see it when I stare at it. I think, is it there? Is it coming out? But it definitely is. You can see it better on the camera actually. So just adding that into the right hand sides of this Yeed. There we go. And forgive me if I'm zooming ahead, but I'm just want to get to the end for everyone so people aren't hanging on too long. I'm going around the outside of some of these little bead lines now. Just quite a subtle little bit of white chalk. Sometimes I find my white chalk gets a bit sort of shiny if I'm using it a lot and becomes harder to transfer the whites onto the tile. So I like to just have a spare piece of paper to give it a little zhuzh on. And then I'm going to just add the finishing touches to my tile. And as ever, you can choose to add whatever or leave out things if you don't want to add them. I've got my white jelly roll here, my 08 jelly roll. You can use any width of jelly roll. Actually, the 10 is probably my preference, but I have lots of these 8s. So I'm going to use the 8. And for this, I'm going to use my jelly roll just to pop some white in the centers of these bead lines in the middle. And I'm going to just fill my aura lines in with some white jelly roll as well. So if you kind of went in there a bit when it came to the shading, it's fine because the white jelly roll will cover that up. There we go. So I've just followed through my my aura line. And I'm going to do the same with this one on the outside of the star. And just take your time with this. I feel like I am rushing a little bit at this point, so I don't want you to feel rushed at all. If you have fallen behind where I'm at, then that is fine. I am trying to move, and I also have done this tile a lot of times, so I know where I'm going and what I'm doing. Also, I am quite a fast tangler, I think. Sometimes when I follow along with lessons, I find that I'm tangling fairly fast, but not that it's not a race or a competition. Everyone just takes different lengths of time. If you're faster than me, then that's great. If you're not quite as fast as me, then that's also great. Zentangle is not about who can finish it the quickest. It's about the process rather than the outcome. And as long as you've enjoyed sitting down and taking this me time and taking this time for yourself, that is the most important thing. A lot of people say that it really helps their mental health, takes their mind off of any worries they have going on, any stresses of the day. It's a lovely way to relax and unwind and focus and keep your brain busy without having to think about things, if that makes sense. Your brain is not focused on anything that might be happening in other areas of your life. It's just focused on the lines that are in front of you. I do tangle quickly, sorry, Gwen. I'm going to just pop some of the white jelly roll in the auras on the outside here also. I think I am trying to cram quite a lot into this lesson as well, which is probably why I'm tangling quickly. I don't know, you'll have to ask my members whether I'm always racing ahead in the membership. I like to think that I'm not. Most people seem to have a tile finished at the end. Depends. I think that when we tangle Zendalas, it does take a bit longer. The surface area is bigger with the Zendala, so it's kind of inevitable that it would take a little longer to do. Normally the lessons in the membership are about 90 minutes. But the recordings are all saved in the community as well, so that you can get back to them if you need to. And this is quite I think having this white jelly roll alongside this shading is actually really fun because it gives you that contrast. And shading really is all about contrast. It's about kind of the darker sort of shaded greys and blacks and the bright whites. And adding this line of jelly roll does just, give you that opposition of the dark and the light. And it kind of makes it pop. It's a bit fiddly with the zigzag though, I admit. The final stages of this, I'm going to go back in and just add a couple of dots of white jelly roll to my outer aura of the star. And I'm going to add some jelly roll to my beadline beads as well. Now you can add some, if you've got silver, you can add your silver or your gold or whatever your metallic color is at any point in here as well. Really, if you wanted to do the silver in this aura line section, that would be perfect too, or gold or whatever you have. It would look really nice, I think, as well. We're nearly done with this aura. And, parts of this might want touching up a little bit. I might go around and add some more black ink just to kind of tidy some of these edges up as well a bit, but I'll do that later. I'm going to do my dots here. I can kind of see where my other ones are sitting, so I'm going to just avoid those. But doing this is it's a bit of a faff to add all these different types of jelly roll, but actually I think it's going to just look really nice when especially if you're going to hang it from the tree or something afterwards. It's going to just have a nice little glinting effect as you look at it when it's all completed. And it's Christmas, so it's nice to be a little bit extra at Christmas, I think. Can't have too much bling. I'm avoiding putting this jelly roll too close to anywhere that I've shaded. Lots of opportunities to add these little dots in, and I'm going to go back in with the silver as well, I think. Just to add a little bit more. Turning my tile as I go. And I think that's good. I'm going to just add my jelly roll into my bead lines. Had this tile in my head for about 6 months, and I can't believe it's December and we're sat here tangling it. It's quite exciting. Hopefully inspiration strikes me just as nicely and early on next Christmas. Nearly there now. Obviously, if you're tangling on white, this might be best done in the metallic, or maybe another coloured pencil or something. There we go. So I'm going to cap my white jelly roll and pick up my silver. This is a lovely juicy silver, this one. It gives me nice big blobs of the silver ink. And I'm pointing my jelly roll kind of up. I'm kind of using it vertically almost. And actually I can just dab it and it comes out really nicely. But I'm going to do a few more dots on here. So this is kind of like snow around the outside. You don't get much snow really in my parts of the UK. My friend lives in Scotland and he gets a lot, but for me, we don't tend to have much snow at Christmas. Normally it's in January, if at all. Don't think it snowed at all this year so far for us, but let's bring it to the tile instead. I think this would look really fun in the red and green colorway with gold. Little sparkles would be really cute. The final thing I'm going to do with my silver, once I've gone around here and added my little touches, is just to fill in those central rice shapes of the Yeed, is my plan. And hopefully if I hold this at an angle, you can see that looking all nice and shiny. Different ways, different types of shiny as well. We've got the metallic shiny, and then we've got the kind of subtle glowy shiny from that what do you call it? What's it called? Glaze pen. There we go. Right, I'm going to just put this in here. And then I'm going to call it a day, I think. Oh gosh, only 20 minutes over. So I think the recording might take a little while to process. I might send an email to everyone just to kind of as a holding thing to say I'll get it to you as soon as possible. Zoom likes to take its time doing whatever it needs to do to process the video and recording and things. So it might not be straight away, but hopefully it will be before I go to bed this evening. And I'm nearly done, I think. Reasonably quick filling in with this jelly roll. But there is my tangled star. And you can see the shiny glitteriness. The final step of the Zentangle method is to initial and sign your artwork. So if you're still working on yours, then please continue. Don't feel you need to stop and do this now. But I'm going to add my chop. Chop is just your initials essentially, or a little stylized version of your initials. And I'm going to do my Ivy's Corner logo, part of it at least, which is a C and an I. There's my chop. And then if this is dry enough, I will flip it over and sign the back. It is the 2nd of the 12th, 2025. And this is the Ivy's Corner 3 festive lesson. Hooray! You might like to make a note of the tangles we've used. They are the two of them there. We've obviously had Auraknot. These are the two extra ones. Yeed by Midori Furuhashi and Beadlines by Margaret Bremner, and then sort of Holly Lane / Bales, and then just orbs in that centre there. But the final step of the Zentangle method is just to take a moment to appreciate again what it is that you have created in the time we've had. I appreciate every single one of you who has dialed in live, every single one of you who has been watching on the recording. Thank you so much for being a part of this. It's been an absolute pleasure to teach you all today. I don't know if anyone has finished and would like to show me their tile. Let me see if I can change.
Friday the 12th.
Oh, let me, if you're happy for me to spotlight.
Come back Saturday the 13th sometime.
Oh, I'm just going to mute people. Look at that. Jeanette, beautiful. I love that. Big thumbs up. I love it. I love it. Gorgeous. Well done, Jeanette. Claire, I'm going to replace the spotlight on you. Hello, look at that. Gorgeous. Oh, I love you've done your gem in the center. That is beautiful.
Yes, not quite finished, but it's getting there.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. I love that gem. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, these
Really
are
lovely.
Prismacolor.
Oh, lovely. Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
Let me see. Thank you so much for sharing. Jane has raised her hand. I will pop Jane. Oh, look at that.
This was very fun. I liked it.
Good. Oh, I'm glad. I'm so glad. Whenever I plan a tile, I'm never quite sure how it's going to go down. So thank you. I love that you've Mary in the middle. That's lovely. Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beth, let me replace the spotlight on you. Hello, Beth. Gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, I love that colorway. You've gone silver on the outside aura, have you? It's a bit blur. I think Zoom's trying to blur it for us to. But it's, oh, there we go. Beautiful. Love that. Really gorgeous. Oh, thank you for sharing. Lovely stuff. Let me replace. We've got Liz here. Hello, Liz. Oh, you've gone for the reds and greens. I love that.
And the holly.
Beautiful. And the holly as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course you have. Gorgeous. Oh, I love that. That's so nice. And I love what have you've kind of gone around the outside of your beadline orbs as well, have you?
Yes.
Yeah, and red and green in the Yeed. That's gorgeous. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Let me replace the spot. We've got Helen. That's gorgeous. Look at that. Wow.
I didn't have a grey, so I had to put some watercolour on the back to tint it slightly.
Oh, well, that's beautiful. That's a really good way of adjusting to create the tile that you're after. Lovely stuff. Let me see. Alison's here. Lovely. Look, red and green as well. Beautiful. And I love that red in the centre. That's really lovely. Wonderful.
I didn't have oops.
Bit echoey.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I didn't have the white gel pen, so I used some yellow pencil for a bit of highlight.
I love that. Really, really nice. Beautiful. Who else have we got? Loads of people waving their sketchbooks and tiles at me. We've got Laurie. Lovely. Look at that. I love that. And you've gone big with your lovely sketchbook there. So you had lots of space to fill.
Yeah, I did. Welcome from snowy Albany, New York.
Oh, we have got snow over there. Lovely. Oh, thank you so much for joining me. I love this. This is beautiful. And I love that you've got the spaces in your star points as well to add some more of those bead lines as well.
Yes, this was so much fun, and I decided to use purples instead of blue.
Oh, lovely. Oh, that's fabulous. Oh, I'd love to see a photo. What I would
sure
ask is if everyone would be, if people are happy to, then let me just bring myself back for a second. How do I do that? Oh, that's everyone. Where am I? I can't even find myself now. Oh dear, there's just too many of you. That's the problem. Let me see if I can spotlight myself from here. Oh no. Where am I? Where am I? There I am. Okay, let me spotlight myself again in a second. Yeah, so if anyone if would like to share their tile, then I think I've put a hashtag in the email that I'm going to send you, but I can't remember what it is, which is not helpful. I think it's something like Ivy's Corner Festive or Ivy's Corner Free Festive or something. I will have a look out for your email, and I'll put the hashtag in there to use if you want to put it on Mosaic, or if you want to put it on in Instagram. Please feel free to tag me in it. I would love to see everyone's work. I'd love to make a big mosaic of everyone's work as well. But yeah, I won't come to anybody else because I know that people are probably we've gone over by half an hour, so I feel a bit bad about that. But I would love to see your tiles. So please do send them to me, send me a photo by email as well. You can do that too. But yeah, thank you so much again, everyone, for joining me. I have had an absolute blast this evening, and I'm really delighted that so many of you have come to tangle with me from near and far. So yeah, thank you so much, and happy Christmas or happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. I hope you have a fabulous holiday time, and hopefully this has given you a little bit of festive calm in what is always a crazy busy season. I have going to see my first of my Christmas functions on Saturday, and I have to make the starter for like 25 people. So that's not going to be the start. This is setting me up nicely for a nice chilled out December, hopefully. So thank you so much. Do check your emails. I'll send you the recordings. Don't forget that you've got your code for my shop, whether that's for the membership or for any of the courses. It's Festive 15, and you can use that. That should be active now. And I hope to come back to you again with another lesson at some point soon. I will be on YouTube doing the project pack. I will be on YouTube and Instagram and everywhere I can be in January doing a fragment of your imagination, and then probably all sorts of other things in the new year as well. So thank you so much to everyone who's watching live and who is dialing in afterwards to the recording. And yeah, thanks very much. And I'm going to stop the recording now.
Thank you, Becky. Merry Christmas.